Mrs. Sarah Kaplan was sent by the Rebbe to Tzfas in Eretz Yisrael 36 years ago, together with her late husband, Rabbi Label Kaplan, Alav Hashalom. Through those years, Mrs. Kaplan has been teaching at Machon Alta and continues to guide many of her students as they build their own Jewish homes. She is the mother of 9 children, 8 of whom are married, and are now shluchim in their own right. They are stationed all across the world, from Vancouver to Detroit, from Tzfas to Montreal. Dear shlichus, please welcome, for tonight's keynote address, Mrs. Sarah Kaplan.
Hi. Good evening, shlichus. I feel like I should stop while I'm ahead. I should just go off now. After such a kind introduction, I usually would thank the MC, but how do you thank a video? In any case, a very good evening to all my dear fellow shluchas and my dear honored guests. And thank you to the MC and to everyone involved in the beautiful Kinus. I can't believe that it's already nearly 37 years ago since I got a phone call that's really the cause of my standing here now. My husband had gone to Kollel as usual, and then he phoned. Rabbi Chodakov had called him into the office and asked him if he and his wife, that the Rebbe wants to know if he and his wife would be willing to come to Tzfas. We were very honored. We felt very fortunate that the Rebbe pointed us and told us where he wants us to be, and that the place that was chosen was a holy city in Eretz Yisrael. My husband immediately responded that we were ready to go b'chefetz lev, with willingness of heart. But then, and we wrote that into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe responded with the question, Ha'izbiru lahem akshayim hakruchim bekach. Was it explained how difficult things would be? Rabbi Chodakov proceeded to explain to my husband about the challenges of building a Chabad center similar to Kfar Chabad. And of course, we wrote back to the Rebbe that the difficulties were explained, and of course, we were still very willing to go. Rabbi Chodakov told us that we'd probably be leaving after Sukkot. At least that's what we thought. On the day before the 17th of Tammuz, my husband got a phone call from Rabbi Groner. The Rebbe wants to see him in his office. My husband rushed to 770 and waited in what Hasidim called the Gan Eden HaTachton, the antechamber to the Rebbe's room, where one would wait to have an audience with the Rebbe. Rabbi Groner told my husband, "Don't wait. The Rebbe called for you. Knock at the door and enter." Tremulous with awe, my husband knocked at the Rebbe's door and entered the Rebbe's room. The Rebbe then proceeded to give my husband instructions, what steps to take, what people to meet, to get the shlichus underway. And since it was the last day before the 3 weeks, the Rebbe told, and it's not a time that one usually undertakes journeys, the Rebbe told my husband that he should start packing today by taking his talis and tefillin, which is the first thing that a Jew packs, and put it in his suitcase. And even though he would have to take it out to daven the next day, the Rebbe said it would be considered that he began his journey. To make a short story even shorter, 2 weeks later, Rosh Chodesh Av, my husband was already in Eretz Yisrael. And according to the Rebbe's instructions, that my husband should come first and I should follow. 9 days later, on Tisha B'Av, I landed in Eretz Yisrael with my son, Mendele. As the Rebbe had warned us, things were not easy. The first apartment we moved into Tzfat, you had to go outside from the bedroom to the bathroom. Quite a bit of a walk. And as the weather in Tzfat turned cold and rainy, we took our suitcases and we moved into the kitchen. But those were the least of our troubles. Yom Kippur, I had gone home to give my baby something to eat. And on the way back to shul, I was surprised to see soldiers driving in the streets. I thought it wasn't so appropriate for soldiers to do maneuvers on Yom Kippur. But then I found out war began. And besides the terrible news from the front, the first few days of the war also meant blackouts. We had to put blankets on the windows so that no light should peek out. We had rationed fruits and vegetables because it was a Shemitah year and we needed to get fruit and vegetables from the Arabs, but they weren't so cooperative. We had no eggs, and because it seems chickens like light to give eggs, and other hardships. Unfortunately, the Israeli government made some terrible errors, which not only cost the lives of many soldiers, but put the entire country at risk. Baruch Hashem, with Hashem's help, the tide changed, and Tzfat was no longer in immediate danger. But still, it was years till we had a phone. Not a cell phone, not internet access, a phone. I remember it was already a few years after I was in Tzfat. We got a telegram that my sister Rachel was engaged to my cousin Yossi Chitrik. And I didn't even know they were going out. My husband rented an office which came with the phone. So you can imagine where he spent most of his time. I have to admit, it wasn't always easy. I remember one particular occasion that I told my husband, maybe Rabbi Chodakov had explained how hard it was going to be, but I didn't get it. For the most part, though, the recognition that I was sent by the Rebbe, that I was where I was meant to be, that gave strength to deal with the constant challenges. And that helped me focus on dealing with the situation instead of letting difficulties shake my resolve. Just a few years ago, I heard a shliach from Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Shmulevitz from Bet Sha'an, describe how some of his friends were trying to convince him that he had already done his part for shlichus, and maybe it was time to come back and lead a normal life, where he could get kosher food, where his kids wouldn't have travel hours every day to school, come to a normal place. Rabbi Shmulevitz's response was, are they crazy? So many people are riddled with angst and insecurity about whether they're in the right job, whether they're accomplishing what they're meant to accomplish. And he said, I, Baruch Hashem, know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing the Rebbe's will. I'm spreading Yiddishkeit. I should give this up. That doesn't mean things were always easy. The Rabbi Krinsky, when he spoke before, mentioned that when the Tzemach Tzedek's Rebbetzin passed away, the Tzemach Tzedek said, Olami chashach alai. My world became dark. I can feel what that feels like. My husband, Olav Shalom, Rabbi Label Kaplan, was one of the first group of shluchim who were sent to Australia 43 years ago to help set up the Yeshiva Gdola in Melbourne, Australia. The Rebbe said about him, Ein mol hashliach, ala mol hashliach. And then the Rebbe sent him to Tzfas. In the years that we were in Tzfas, my husband, Alav Shalom, fulfilled the Rebbe's mandate. If any of you have visited Tzfat in the last 25 years, you may have had a glimpse of what he accomplished. And he didn't limit his activities solely to Tzfas, but he was very involved in Chabad activities in Eretz Yisrael and also internationally. And because of his tremendous concern for fellow shluchim, he took time from his busy schedule 11 and a half years ago to travel to Minsk in Belarus for 2 days to help a fellow shliach. I remember that when he packed, he didn't pack any pajamas. So I said, "You're not taking any pajamas?" He said, "I'm not going to be sleeping." He was traveling. Tragically, on his way to Minsk, very near to the town Lubavitch, his life was cut short at the age of 50 in a terrible car accident. And as difficult as those terrible days were, the years of shlichus which we had served stood me in good stead. Years of teaching Torah, of encouraging people to hold on to their faith in the difficulties and vicissitudes of life. Those provided me with the strength to continue. Also, the love and friendship of the community we had built, of fellow shluchim, of fellow Hasidim all over the world. They provided great comfort and support to me and to my family. In those terrible days, I remember thinking how much more difficult such a tragedy would be for those who don't have a family of Hasidim to sustain them. And Baruch Hashem, now my son, Rabbi Chaim Kaplan, and his wife, Rivki, who was here at this podium last year, are continuing my husband's shlichus. And to see all my other children involved in shlichus is a great source of support and joy. But that doesn't mean that I have this clarity all the time. 2 years ago, I was on the way to the Kinus, and so just before I left Israel, I went to the store to buy some gifts for the grandchildren that I was going to meet, Bezrat Hashem. Just as I was about to leave the store owner tells me, "I think I have $1 that belonged to your husband, Olav Shalom." He showed it to me, and the handwriting was my husband's handwriting. So I paid him for it, and I took the $1. Holding the $1 in my hand, I walked out of the store, and I didn't notice there was a little stoop there. I fell flat on my face. I was lying there on the floor, wondering, how on earth did I fall holding the Rebbe's $1 in my hand? Baruch Hashem, nothing hurt me. Getting up, I must admit, was quite a feat, but somehow I did it. My car service driver was waiting for me, and I drove home. Just as I got home, the phone was ringing. Now, since I grew up in a generation where there was no voicemail or caller ID, when the phone rings, you must answer. I mean, it might be the President of the United States. You never know. So I picked up the phone, and the caller was a former student of mine, a woman, a balat tshuva of over the age of 35, who had left Machanalta, where I teach, about a year before and had moved to Jerusalem. Usually, she's a very tranquil, positive person. But this time, she launched into a tirade. How she can't take it anymore. She's fed up. She doesn't want to be alone. She's ready to give up Yiddishkeit. And she went on and on. I listened to her for more than a few minutes. And then I decided to share with her the experience I was just recovering from. I was still shaky. So I told her how I had just fallen with the Rebbe's dollar in my hand. What I learned from this, I told her, is that when you hold the Rebbe's dollar, it doesn't mean we will never fall, but it means we will be able to get back up. Baruch Hashem, she found those words very encouraging, and about 2 months later, she was engaged, and now is Baruch Hashem, the mother of an adorable little baby boy. Yes, we go through difficult times, but we can pick ourselves up. We are the beneficiaries of incredible blessings. When I went to Tzfat with my husband all those years ago, I couldn't even imagine such a scene. Thousands of shlichus from all over the world gathered in such a beautiful hall, together with guests and supporters, all here to gather energy and strength to help us fulfill the mission which the Rebbe entrusted us with. Baruch Hashem, I'm old enough not to take the Kinus for granted. It's not on my merit that I'm here. I owe debts to many. First of all, my husband, when we were chassan and kala, it was my husband's suggestion that we write to the Rebbe that we're ready to go on shlichus anywhere in the world that the Rebbe saw fit. My husband always felt that it was this willingness that we demonstrated even before we got married that aroused the Isarusa Delela of the Rebbe, who sent us to Tzfat on his own initiative. I want to thank my parents, Zol Gesund sein. My father, Rabbi Lieberman, the chief rabbi of Antwerp, and my mother, the Mrs. Chaya Lieberman, the daughter of the well-known Chassid Rabbi Yehuda Chitrik, who passed away just 4 years ago at the age of 106. Their Mesiras Nefesh for Yiddishkeit from their own youth, despite being surrounded by Nazis and communists, have inspired my life from my earliest years. The list of whom I need to thank is endless. But since Chazal say, Umi Talmida Yoser Mikulam, we learn most from our students, I will mention my students in Machan Alta, Beis Chana, and Seminary Chaya Mushka. One of the many pleasures at the Kinus is meeting up with you students. I meet women that I remember sometimes as very serious, idealistic girls, sometimes as rather carefree, happy-go-lucky girls, and now I meet young women involved in shlichus, married, with children. It is such a great pleasure. And for those of you who have not yet been so blessed, you have my heartfelt prayers that you all very soon should be. Your thirst for learning and your desire for spiritual growth are a constant inspiration. Now, even my students' little children are becoming my teachers. Just recently, one of my students, now Baruch Hashem, a shlucha on campus, hi Tzippa somewhere, she posted a question. Her 4-year-old daughter asked, "Does Hashem light Shabbos candles in Gan Eden?" There's nothing like a child's question to make you stop and think. They see the world in a whole new and fresh light. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we get a peek too. So did Hashem light Shabbos candles in Gan Eden? Yes, he did. Ner Hashem nishmas Adam. Adam and Hava were Hashem's 2 candles. Adam is called Nero Shel Olam, the candle of the world. Our sages say that the back of Adam's heel was so bright, it made the sun seem dark. And if so, imagine how much light Adam's face generated. And Chava, his other half, flesh of his flesh, she was surely also a source of light. Now, Adam and Chava radiated not just a physical light. Physical light shows us our surroundings. But physical light is limited. There's a little bit of light here, so I could see people, chairs, tables, what's left of the food, not much. But what makes these things exist? Why they exist? All that I don't see. Adding 1 million light bulbs won't help me see the purpose of existence, how and why it came to be. When we say that Adam and Chava generated light, they radiated also real light, spiritual light, that enabled them to see the real truth of his existence, to see the real reality. They saw the divine utterances that make the world exist. They saw that the whole creation was a revelation of Hashem's glory. And Adam and Chava, the pinnacles of creation, revealed Hashem's glory more than anything else in creation. They were Hashem's candles. That was so until they tasted from the tree of knowledge of good and evil on Friday afternoon. Now they became a mixture of good and evil. They no longer saw in the world only a revelation of godliness. Now the world could be used to fulfill man's selfish interests and lustful desires. So when was the light taken away? The light should have been taken right away, when Shabbos came in, immediately after the sin. But the sages say that in the merit of Shabbos, the punishment was deferred to Motzei Shabbos. So it was on Motzei Shabbos that Adam and Chava saw darkness for the first time. They were afraid that they were condemned to spend the rest of their lives in darkness. But then they came upon 2 flint stones, which they rubbed against each other, and they discovered fire. And they thanked Hashem for creating the light of fire, just as we do every Motzei Shabbos. We understand from this that originally Adam and Chava radiated light effortlessly. But now, to restore that light, it takes effort. We have to reveal the godliness in the physical world. We have to rub the stones against each other to discover the inner essence, to reveal the godliness in the world. That is the job we've been given. Everything in the world has the fire of godliness hidden in it. And every mitzvah we do, every person we inspire, every moment we infuse with holiness, every positive act, every time we see divine providence in the world, we're revealing the godliness in ourselves and in the world. Hashem tells Adam and Chava, be fruitful and multiply, fill the world and conquer it. Each of us has a mandate to reconquer the world for God, to restore, to reveal its essential sanctity. How can a person who's aware of his weaknesses and limitations go out to conquer the world? How do young Chabad couples, straight from seminary and yeshiva, go to towns and communities with the mission of revealing godliness? To enable us to assume this immense task in our generation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, has given us the Rebbe. In our generation, the Rebbe echoes Hashem's call to Adam, conquer the world. The Rebbe calls upon each one of us, Ufaratzta yama v'kedma tzafona v'negba. You must spread forth to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. The Rebbe shows us how to rediscover the light hidden within and inspires us to be lamplighters, to reveal the light in those around us. So thank you, Hashem, and thank you, Rebbe. Thank you, Hashem, for giving us the Rebbe. And thank you, Rebbe, for helping us reveal Hashem in the world, for making us lamplighters, so we could light the fires of those around us. And what a beautiful fire it is. A fire that warms and enlightens and elevates, but doesn't destroy. The fire of the Rebbe melts the ice of indifference and apathy and self-absorption and reveals the fiery love and passion for Hashem and holiness hidden in every single one of us. The Rebbe shows the world the strengths hidden in each one of us. The Rebbe sees Jews who have drifted from their heritage, and the Rebbe doesn't blame them. But the Rebbe teaches us, open your homes, invite them for Shabbos, expose them to Torah classes, and you will see how the light of Yiddishkeit hidden within them will come to light. Thank you, Rebbe. But I'm not finished yet. Sorry. Nearly 14 years ago, my oldest daughter became a Kala. During the joyous celebration, the Chassan's grandmother, who's like the heiress of an old Yerushalmi tradition, told me that in times of joy, and in all times really, man darf danken und beten. We have to thank Hashem, and we have to beseech Him for more. We have to remember that Hashem's bounty is infinite. So we have to thank Him for what He gives us, and we have to ask for more. We must appreciate, but also supplicate. Say thank you and please. Thank you for what you have given, and please reveal more of your kindness. So thank you, Rebbe, for teaching us, inspiring us, loving us, believing in us, guiding us, blessing us, praying for us. And please continue to beseech Hashem on our behalf so that we be more fully able to actualize the potential within us and inspire those around us to do the same. Thank you, Hashem, for everything you give us, for the privilege of being the Rebbe's Hasidim, for blessing the Rebbe's work with incredible success. And please, Hashem, continue to bless our effort. A little more parnasa wouldn't hurt. And much more importantly, we should merit to see only goodness and kindness, only good news. Please, Hashem, no more tragedies, no more catastrophes, and a refuah shleima to all who need. We want to live healthy lives of Kiddush Hashem, of sanctifying Hashem's name, not chas v'shalom to die or suffer al Kiddush Hashem. And I have one more request. The Gemara tells us that one of the sages, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, asked the prophet Eliyahu, the prophet Elijah, when is Mashiach coming? Eliyahu responds, go and ask him. Rabbi Yoshua says, where can I meet him? And Eliyahu tells him where to locate Mashiach. Following Eliyahu's instructions, Rabbi Yeshua meets up with Mashiach and asks, when is Mashiach coming? Mashiach responds, Hayom, today. Later, Eliyahu asks Rabbi Yeshua, what did Mashiach tell you? Rabbi Yeshua said, and you wouldn't believe, the Gemara uses those words, Mashiach lied to me. Because he said he would come today, and he didn't come. So Eliyahu explained that when he said Hayom, he meant the beginning of the verse, Hayom im bekolo tishma'u. I will come today if you hearken to my voice. I guess it's like the little letters in different contracts. Anyway, many generations later, the holy Baal Shem Tov also meets with Mashiach and also asks him, Ei Masai ka'asimar, when is Mashiach coming? And Mashiach responds with the now famous reply, Kishiyafutzu ma'inosecha chutza, when your well springs will spread. The father-in-law of the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe Rayatz, asks, why did the Baal Shem Tov ask Mashiach this question? When are you coming? Surely if the Baal Shem Tov knew the Gemara, that Mashiach will come when we hearken to his voice, to Hashem's voice, when we observe the commandments. So why is he asking Mashiach again? So the Rebbe Rayatz explains this. He said the Baal Shem Tov, with his loving eyes, looked into every Jew and saw the love of Hashem hidden within. The Baal Shem Tov saw how despite troubles, suffering, and persecutions, Jews have not lost their identity. They still keep mitzvos. They still do acts of kindness. He saw their goodness expressed in countless ways. So he calls out to Mashiach, look, it's happening. The Jews are hearkening to your voice. When are you coming? And what is the answer of Mashiach? And to this I am indebted to Rabbi Yosef Samuels, the shliach from Milwaukee, who pointed out this talk of the Rebbe Rayatz in Likutei Diburim and helped me also understand the response of Mashiach. He says, Mashiach tells the Baal Shem Tov, when your holy perspective will spread, when everyone, even those not officially called Hasidim, even those who seem chutza, who seem on the outside, when they will also look at the world the way you do, when they will also look past the exterior and discover the love of Hashem hidden in the depths of every Jew, the holiness in every one of Hashem's creation, then Mashiach will come. Hashem, surely it's not presumptuous on our part to call out, a Masai Kasimar. When is Mashiach coming? Look at this room. Everyone in this room represents an entire community of people who are learning to look at the world through the Rebbe's eyes, through the eyes of the Baal Shem Tov, to look past the exterior and see the beautiful Jewish heart hidden within. True, we may sometimes get distracted and sometimes be misguided, but we too are living through challenging times. In the times of the Baal Shem Tov, people knew the poverty and suffering of their shtetl, of the nearby communities. Today, because of the media, the modern communication, the suffering and tragedies of people all over the world are at each one of our doorsteps. We are constantly assailed by tragedy and by suffering. And at the same time, we also have the challenges of affluence, of endless and constantly increasing temptations calling for our attention. And yes, We sometimes fall. But look, Hashem, how we pick ourselves up. Look at our core. Look where our true focus and perspective are. Look how, Baruch Hashem, our numbers are increasing. Look at our large and growing families. Look at all the inspiring people, some of whom I had the privilege to meet over this Kinus. People who love learning Torah and are taking upon themselves additional mitzvahs. Look at the chesed organizations and at all the amazing individuals who open their hands and hearts so generously to make all this possible. Even non-Chabad organizations have absorbed many of the teachings of Hasidus, calling out to other Jews, looking beyond the exterior and believing in their potential. The light radiating from Adam and Hava is being restored by countless Shabbos candles, countless mitzvahs, each one compared to the candle. Just like a candle, which begins as a physical piece of wax, becomes transformed into the energy, warmth, and light of fire, so our mitzvahs take the physicality of this world and transform it into beacons of light, warmth, and spirituality. Look at this room. Look at the wonders of technology being harnessed for godliness. Hashem, look how the Gashmias is being elevated for Ruchnias. Now, in the year Tafshin Ayin, 770, the numerical value of Avifaratzta, as we begin the 7th decade of the 7th generation. Look, Rebbe, we are fulfilling our mandate. We have spread all over the world. Look, the wellsprings of Hasidus have spread. Hashem, thank you for all of this. And mit Muzdanken Beten, we have to say thank you and please. Hashem, please, we want Mashiach now.
Thank you, Mrs. Kaplan. Your strength stands us in good stead. May you have continued revealed blessing and nachas from all of your family.